Okay, today we are going to be talking about estimating sums and differences for rational numbers. And our focus for today is how do we know if our estimate is an underestimate or an overestimate? And what information does the underestimate or overestimate tell you? Well, let's just define these words, overestimate and underestimate. So if we look in our book in 1.2, an overestimate is an estimation that is slightly larger than the actual value. And sometimes we need an overestimation. An example would be if we are going to a grocery store and we only have $20 in our pocket and we've got things to pick up, we need to make sure that we're overestimating to account for tax when we get to the register. Or if we are trying to figure out how many gallons of gas we might need to go on a vacation, an overestimation would be good. That way we make sure we have enough gas. An underestimate, on the other hand, would be an estimation where the estimate is a little bit lower than the actual value. And things that we need to make an underestimate on would be kind of up to the individual at that time. So overestimations, I overestimate a lot just to make sure that I have enough of a material. Underestimation is kind of a case-by-case situation. So let's move on to problem A. Okay, and we're going to look at this dollhouse problem, and it says that we should answer each question using estimation and explain our reasoning, and then explain how confident we are in our answer, and then for each estimate we make, tell whether it's an over or an underestimate, and explain why you chose to over or underestimate. So, question A. Mrs. Edwards is building a dollhouse for her children. She needs to buy wood for the railing on the balcony. The wood is available in 12-inch, 14-inch, and 16-inch lengths. She does not want to waste wood. What length should she buy? So let's take a look over here on our blueprints. Okay. This right here, this part, is the actual dollhouse itself. So that would be, we aren't worried about that. What we are worried about is the balcony on the dollhouse for the railing. Okay. So that being said, we have two sides that are 4 1/4 inches. Okay, so there's two of those. And we also have this side right here. So there's two of those right here and right here that are 4 1/8. And then in blue, I'm going to show you that we have one side right here that is 5 1/8. 5 1/8. So, and that's times 1. Okay? So we're trying to figure out the total amount of wood that she would need to go around this. Well, normally when we round, we use the middle as the breaking point. If it's 5 or higher, you round up. If it's 4 or below, you stay the same. When we estimate for materials, sometimes we don't need to stick to those conventions that we've learned. So let's take a look. If I'm buying wood and I want to make sure I have enough, then I'm going to round my 4 1/4 to 4 1/2. Okay, so that's going to be like 4.5 or 4 1/2, and I have two of those. So 4 1/2 plus 4 1/2. Okay, if I do this like this, plus 4 1/2 means that I would need 9 inches of wood just for the sides here. And now I'm going to add in 5 1/8. Okay? Now, what I'm going to look at is when I rounded my 4 1/4 up to 4 1/2, I included an extra 1/4 of an inch. So that was plus 1/4 extra. Oh, that's kind of hard to read. So that was plus 1/4 of an extra to each one of those. I only need an eighth more than 5 inches. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to round the 5 1/8 down to just 5. Okay, so we're going to make that go down to just 5 inches. So I need this 9 inches plus this 5 inches. And that's going to give me 14 inches total. Okay, so, and again, this is estimation because of how I estimated, I have 1/4 extra here and 1/4 extra here. So I have an extra 1/2 inch of wood that I can use for this 1/8. Okay, so she would need to buy the 14 inches. She needs the 14 inches. Okay, and this would be an overestimation. And I'm pretty confident in my answer because there's a 1/2 inch here that I have rounded up that I would be more than enough to cover my 1/8 of an inch. So I'm pretty confident in my answer that she would need only the 14 inch section. And one way that we can tell is by adding these up. So if we took the actual, and I'm going to take those and I'm going to do both decimal and fraction. So 4 1/4 would be the same thing as 4.25. Okay, and I'm just checking my work. 5 1/8. Okay, and this would be 5.125. Okay, so I'm going to add up my decimal numbers first. That would be a 0 and a 0. We need 5, 10. There's a 12. Carry the 1, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And then 4, 8, or I guess 9, and this would be 13. So I would need 13.625 inches. Well, what this looks like with fractions is we're going to have to convert these to common denominators. So that'd be 4 2/8, 4 2/8, and then 5 1/8. So what I get here, and I'm going to have to show my answer down here, is 2 plus 2 plus 1 is 5/8. So this would be 5/8. And then 4 4 and 5 is 13. So I only need 13 5/8 inches of wood to build my balcony. So I would need to definitely get the 14 inch piece. So by checking my work, I can kind of see that my estimation was pretty close. All right, so what we need to do before coming to class tomorrow is I would like for you to rework this problem another way, maybe doing it a little differently or coming up with an explanation. And the reason why I chose overestimation was to make sure we had enough. Now we don't need to go crazy and get the 16 inch because we would have, almost 2 inches. We'd have over 2 inches of wood that we would waste. So, all right. Again, I want you to rework A, which is on page 11, before coming to class tomorrow.